Patim ingita kovida.
Maitreya Vacha Piprabhyam Prasthite Sadhvi Pati Vingitako Vida.
Ma, we can't hear you.
Ma, we can't hear you.
Falini Mataji?
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I don't know how I got you.
No, I muted everybody, so by mistake you also got muted. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Mataji, can we all switch off the video so that we can get the clear connection? Because,
Yeah.
Everybody can switch off. If you like, it depends on your internet connection. If it's not very good, you can switch it off. If it's good, it doesn't matter.
Okay, everybody, do whatever you want. Hari Bol, Anupama. Thanks for joining us.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hari, oh, there you are. So Anupama, we're studying third canto, chapter 23, text 1. And we already read the Sanskrit and the translation, but I'll read the translation again. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The specific example of Bhavani is very significant. Bhavani means the wife of Bhava, or Lord Shiva. Bhavani, or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. In spite of her being a princess, she undertook all kinds of tribulations to associate with Lord Shiva, who did not even have a house, but was sitting underneath the trees and passing his time in meditation. Although Bhavani was the daughter of a very great king, she used to serve Lord Shiva just like a poor woman. Similarly, Devahuti was the daughter of an emperor, Swayambhuva Manu. Yet she preferred to accept Kardama Muni as her husband. She served him with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. Therefore, she is designated here as Sadhvi, which means a chaste, faithful wife. Her rare example is the ideal of Vedic civilization. Every woman is expected to be as good and chaste as Devahuti or Bhavani. Today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the senses of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Shambhu, or Lord Shiva, is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Ram and chants Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. The girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband. And if the husband is a Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. This reciprocation of service and love between husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Mangayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamahang Bante Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vanchaka Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And we're also thank you to those who will be listening to this recording later. So the reason I chose this verse is because it has some basic information for us as aspiring Vaishnavis. First of all, in the translation, Maitreya Muni says, after the departure of her parents. So what does that mean? What does that indicate? It means that the woman, when she gets married, she becomes part of her husband's family. And it occurred to me when I was reading this today that actually Kardama Muni and Devahuti have a, what's it called? A nuclear family. Because there's no parents around, there's no in-laws. Nobody else is there, only Kardama Muni. So Devahuti is simply serving her husband very selflessly with all her energy, day and night, whatever he needs. She is serving him hand and foot, and her parents are nowhere near. Her in-laws are nowhere nearby. Who knows? I don't even know who the parents of Kardama Muni are. I should have looked it up. But anyway, so that's the first point. Then the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband. Now, if, you know, those of us who are married, if we ask the question, who knows, who can understand the desires of her husband? I bet that very few of us would be able to raise our hands because, for one thing, being in women's bodies, we have a tendency to be selfish. We have a tendency to think of our own desires. But in order to be able to understand the desires of our husband, we have to think of him. We have to think of his needs, his desires, his mood, his temperament. So that's all included in that sentence. So then the next phrase is, served him constantly with great love. She served Kardama Muni constantly with great love. She didn't take breaks. She didn't, say, okay, Prabhu, I'm really burnt out. I need to go visit my mom or anything like that. She was constantly serving. In fact, she served Kardama Muni so nicely that she's compared to Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, who serves her husband so nicely that she's like, Prabhupada compares her to a poor woman. He says, Bhavani serves her husband, Lord Shiva, just like a poor woman. So let's go over the purport again. The specific example of Bhavani is very significant. Bhavani means the wife of Bhava, or Lord Shiva. Bhavani or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. Okay, so now that's an important point. In the very first sentence of the purport, it says that Bhavani selected her own husband. And of course, we know that Devahuti also selected her own husband. So it's not that these girls were waiting and waiting for 10 or 12 or 15 years, waiting for their parents to find them a husband. And depending on astrology and depending on the advice of the elders. No, they heard about their husbands. They fell in love in their minds, in their hearts, and they humbly, at least we hear from the example of Devahuti that she approached her father very humbly and asked her father if he would consider allowing her to marry Kardama Muni. So then Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, the queen, they took her to Kardama Muni and they asked him, Swayambhuva Manu asked Kardama Muni, would you kindly accept my daughter because she has given her heart to you? So that was an interesting point. Then Srila Prabhupada says, Bhavani or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. Lord Shiva appears to be a beggar. So does that mean, because he is the greatest Vaishnava, does that mean that when you become a Vaishnava, that Krishna will make you a beggar? Well, if he does, then a devotee is okay with that. We should be all right with whatever arrangements Krishna makes in our life, because Mahashuchaha, we should not be afraid. We should not worry. Once we surrender to Krishna, we say, hey Krishna, like Draupadi, oh Govinda, oh Krishna, please take care of me. So then a devotee who's truly surrendered to Krishna is not afraid. Then Srila Prabhupada says, in spite of her being a princess, she undertook all kinds of tribulations to associate with Lord Shiva. So he's still talking about Bhavani. Lord Shiva, who did not even have a house, but was sitting underneath the trees and passing his time in meditation. So there may be advantages or disadvantages to living under a tree. Your voices are all muted, so I can't really ask a question like I usually like to do, but I'll just answer it.
Mataji, you can ask.
I'll ask the question and then I'll ask it. Oh yeah? Okay.
Sorry, Mataji, you can ask.
Who can tell?
They can unmute themselves, answer, and then again mute themselves.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, thanks. All right, so I have a question. Who can tell the one of the advantages of living under a tree? What is one of the advantages of living under a tree?
You will get a good shadow.
Lena, was that you? Did I just see you, Lena? It's been a million years since I saw you. So, who knows one of the advantages of living under a tree?
Mataji, no attachment to belongings or a place.
Very good answer. Very, very nice answer.
We are close to nature. We are amongst the nature.
Very nice. Okay. Good points. What else? What do we learn from the 6 Goswamis?
We don't have to worry about maintaining a house and all the complex paraphernalia that comes along with that. So we can nicely concentrate on devotional service.
That's a good point. That's
This
a
is
good
Shama.
Oh, okay. Hi, well, Shama, you're here with us, huh? Very good.
Right. Squeezing in there.
So now there's a clue. I gave you a clue. I asked you about the six Goswamis. What did the six Goswamis teach us about living under a different tree every night?
Not more than 3 days a day.
What did you say?
Mataji, not more than 3 days in under a tree. We keep moving.
Okay.
As renunciates.
Yeah, renunciation.
Okay, nobody got it yet. I mean, you're all giving good answers.
They were not even attached to the place where they were living under the tree. Even the trees are not attached.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and tell you that the reason, one of the reasons why the Goswamis lived under the trees is because in the wintertime, a tree gives off warmth. And in the summertime, a tree provides coolness. Okay? All right, so that was nice. We had a little interaction there. I'm going to go on with the purport now. Although Bhavani was the daughter of a very great king, now I just want to make a little point here. She was, Bhavani was the daughter of the king of the Himalayas or Himalayas. But before that, she was Sati. And she was the daughter of whom? As Sati, who was her father?
Daksha.
That's right. Daksha. That's right. Oh, Radha Gokulananda joined us.
Thank you.
And Krishnanji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so then after she committed suicide, she left her body. Then she immediately took birth as Bhavani, the daughter of the Himalayas. So then she married Lord Shiva. Okay, so now next sentence. Although Bhavani was the daughter of a very great king, she used to serve Lord Shiva just like a poor woman. That's where it is. That's where Prabhupada says that. Similarly, Devahuti was the daughter of an emperor, Chakravarti. In fact, you know, there's a little detail about Swayambhuva Manu. He was the first king in our universe. And there was something very special about him. And they say, like father, like daughter, the daughter inherits the qualities of the father. So Swayambhuva Manu was actually a pure devotee of Krishna. And whatever he did, he always did for Krishna's pleasure. Whatever he said, he would speak for Krishna. And whatever he thought about, he always thought about Krishna. So those nice qualities were passed on to Devahuti. Okay, so she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, yet she preferred to accept Kardama Muni as her husband. She served him with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. So how can we learn how to please our husbands? What are some good ideas? Can anyone share? How can we learn how to please our husbands?
First, we will try to understand his desires.
That's a good answer. Yes. Anyone else?
By being submissive.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mataji, service attitude.
Okay, Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Understanding what is requirement and providing accordingly, Mataji.
Yeah, good answer, Radha.
By being
Reciprocating,
favorite,
reciprocating love.
Oh, that's very nice, Emma. Very nice.
being favorably disposed to him and his relatives.
Yep. Yep. Where's that from? Do you remember in the Bhagavatam where that
From,
is written?
that's from Srimad Bhagvatam.
Yes. What canto?
Seventh canto.
Good. Good. Who answered that?
Shama.
Shama.
Right. Narada Muni tells that to Kayadu, I think.
Oh, really? Is he speaking to Kayadu in the 7th canto?
No,
That's interesting. That's very nice to know. We should check on that.
I have to check on that, but it's definitely seventh canto. That much I know.
He's speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj.
Yeah, it's 7-11.
25.
25,
Mataji.
25. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
The speaker is Narada Muni. I don't know whether it is for Kayadu, but I think it's Narada Muni.
Yeah, it's Narada Muni. Yes, you're right. Okay, so Devahuti served her husband with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. Therefore, she is designated here as Sadhvi. Hey, when I look at this little light on my computer, am I looking at all of you? Does it look like I'm looking at my
Yes, Mataji.
camera?
Yeah,
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, okay. Her rare example, Sadhvi means a chaste, faithful wife. Her rare example is the ideal of Vedic civilization. So there are so many ladies who are considered to be ideal ladies. Can some of us name? Just give me a name. Who is an ideal lady in Vedic civilization?
Draupadi.
Kunti Maharani.
Sita.
Kunti Maharani.
Sita Mata.
Draupadi Mata.
Sita Mata.
Sita Mata.
Who else?
Ahalya.
Devi Anasuya.
Ahalya. Very nice.
Ahalya.
Who else?
Ahalya, Draupadi, Sita, Tara, Mandodaris,
Oh, you
Savitri.
did that little verse, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay.
Savitri.
Savitri and Gandhari is also famous. Okay, good. All right. So every woman is expected to be as good and chaste as Devahuti or Bhavani. Today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. So this is what we should hope and pray for. You girls who are not yet blessed with a husband, you should pray for that. And if your heart is desiring to have someone who is very wealthy, very famous, whatever, and you can pray for the desire to be married to a pure Vaishnava, a good Vaishnava. Of course, if a man is already a completely pure devotee, then it's not likely that he would be looking for a wife, but almost pure, let's say. We want someone who wants to be pure, someone who's aspiring to be a pure devotee. So that's the best kind of husband. So may those of you who are aspiring to get married be blessed with a good Vaishnava husband. Okay, where are we? So today in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Shambhu, or Lord Shiva, is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Ram and chants Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. I like how Srila Prabhupada says there that they worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as Lord Shiva. One time, Srila Prabhupada told my godbrother, Makanlal, he said, expect Krishna's mercy. So this is good advice. That here we are. I was just hearing Srila Prabhupada giving a lecture while I was cooking today, and he said that 8,400,000 species of life, Krishna is providing food for each and every one of them. So how do you think that you, who belong to the 400,000 species of human beings, that Krishna won't feed you? We have to expect Krishna's mercy and know that Krishna will take care of us. So same with husbands, you know, we're so anxious to get a nice husband. Krishna will provide. Okay, so the girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband. Krishnangi, can you tell me the 3 stages of a woman's life?
In childhood, she is protected by the father. Then in youth, she is protected by her husband. And then in old age, she is protected by her elder sons.
Excellent. Very, very good. Excellent answer. Okay, so the wife is dependent on the husband, and if the husband is a Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. That's an interesting point, that because the wife renders service to the husband, she shares the devotional service of the husband. She gets the benefit from her husband because she serves him. So that's a very nice point that Srila Prabhupada makes there. It's a good impetus or a good incentive to continue our service even when we don't feel like it. There may be days when we don't feel like doing our service, but we carry on anyway. We pray for enthusiasm and determination to continue our service. And that's a good point that Srila Prabhupada makes there, that by continuing and being determined to render service to our husband, then we will get benefited, because the husband, our husband, hopefully is serving Krishna. Right? This reciprocation of service and love between husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life. Srila Prabhupada says in many places that there is no love in this material world. And he says that real love is only with Krishna. That's what real love is our relationship with Krishna. But in a few places, like here at the very end of that purport, and in some other places, Srila Prabhupada talks about love between husband and wife. So it actually does exist. And especially if you remember, some of you have seen this little example, that if you hold your fingers like this And you put your thumbs right here. This is the husband and this is the wife. So as the husband gets closer to Krishna, this is Krishna at the top. As the husband gets closer to Krishna, and as the wife gets closer to Krishna, and the husband gets closer to Krishna, and the wife gets closer to Krishna, what's happening to the husband and wife? The husband gets closer to Krishna, the wife gets closer to Krishna. What's happening to the husband and the wife?
They're coming closer to each other.
They're becoming closer to each other. So love is actually possible in the material world as long as we make Krishna the center of our marriage. And if, you know, I know some of us, we may not have a serious devotee as our husband, but we can still see him as a gift from Krishna. We can see him as a representative of Krishna in a way, because he's protecting us, he's providing for us, hopefully. That may not be true in all cases, but that's the ideal. The ideal is that the husband should be the provider and the wife should be at home, taking care of the household, taking care of the children, and serving the husband when he comes home. So now we're going to go to Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. We're going to switch over. Okay, so Madhusmita, are you with us?
She's there, Mataji, but for some reason we're not able to hear her.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you, Madhusmita, for putting the link on POI so that the devotees who didn't have the book downloaded yet could download it. So did everyone read the first 3 chapters?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Did anyone
Yes,
not
Mataji.
read
Yes, Mataji.
the first 3 chapters? Okay, so if anybody
According
did,
to Wikipedia, biryani is a mixed rice dish with its origins among the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent.
okay, I'm trying to find the page. Assignments. Okay. I went way too far because in my reading, I'm way up in, I'm way past where we're going to be today. So I was unconsciously going there. So sorry for the delay. Okay, page 36. Can everybody find page 36? We're going to read together this assignments, secret number 1.
Mataji, we're just going there.
Okay. Okay, is everybody there? Page 36?
Yes, Mother.
Yes,
Okay.
Mataji.
Okay. So assignment 1, make a list of all your husband's masculine virtues. So prior to this, there was a list of virtues that one could go over and just, you know, as kind of a prompt, you could look at all those virtues that were listed, and then you can make your own list. And of course you can add things. But that's going to be our homework this week. We're going to make a list of all our husband's masculine virtues. And for those of you who are not married, you can make a list anyway of what virtues you would like your husband, your future husband, to have. Okay? And then after you make your list, then read your list every morning and every night. Continue this until you have committed them to memory. What does that mean, Genevieve? What does it mean to commit something to memory? Do you know? Can you unmute your voice, Ruchi? I want to hear what Genevieve has to say.
Hey, Janvi. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Haribol, Genevieve. So what does it mean to commit something to memory?
So, इसका मतलब क्या होता है? कुछ याद करने का मतलब क्या होता है? See?
Well, what it means, I'll tell you. It means to memorize it. So if you have a shloka, mommy shows you a really nice shloka in Bhagavad Gita, and she says, commit this to memory, Janavi. And what it means is you remember it. You keep on practicing reading it over and over and over again until you remember it and you don't forget it. Okay? So that's what we want to do. Okay, so that's our assignment for next week. And we're gonna now just go back over some of the reading that we did for today. Let's go back to, I think it's page 24. Just a second, let me just check. No, it's page 31. Can everybody turn to page 31?
Mataji, if it's okay, can someone share the book here?
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. I'm sorry. Maybe Shraddha already taught me, but I forgot. Share screen. Somebody else will do it?
I can share, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you permission, Ratipriya Mataji.
Okay.
You have the permission, Ratipriya Mataji.
Okay, are we ready? Oh, that's a beautiful picture of Prabhupada. I love that. Okay, page 31 we're going to. See that? Secret number 1, accept him as he is. Look to his good side. When she says look to his good side, some of you have already read Fascinating Womanhood, and you remember the exercise called folding it back. Folding it back is an exercise where you take a piece of paper, large piece of paper, you draw a line down the center, or you fold it in half, long ways, and then you open it, and at the top of the left-hand column, you write positive, and at the top of the right column, you write negative. So then at the top of the left column, you write down, throughout the left column, you write down all the good things about your husband that you can think of. And then in the right-hand column, you write all the things that annoy you about your husband. And then you fold it again, but you fold it backwards. And you turn that negative side to the back. You're aware of it. You know that those problems exist, but you just focus on the good side. So that's what it means when it says, look to his good side. Okay, so let's just read together. Then turning back to the class, she said, this secret is your man's second most important need. We learn his first most important need next week. But his second most important need is for you to accept him as he is and not try to change him. I repeat, your husband's second most important need is for you to accept him as he is and not try to change him. Accepting him as he is means that you accept all his habits, his weaknesses, his dreams or lack of them, and his beliefs. I'm sure some of you remember that story from Fascinating Womanhood about the guy who climbed out the bathroom window when his wife tried to trick him into joining her church. So he ran away. So in other words, because it says his beliefs means that you accept his beliefs. That means men need religious freedom. They need to make their own spiritual decisions on their own. They don't want to be nagged and pushed and hinted at by their wives. They want to make their own decisions as far as their spiritual life goes. Okay, next sentence. You accept him as another human being, part good, part bad, just like yourself. We women try and change our husbands, but they don't change. It's a very common fault with us women. Oops. Oh, can you scroll down, Pati Priya? Thank you, dear. Yeah, scroll to the, so that this next subtitle is at the top. Why you must not try and change your husband. Cherry, the blonde, robust young woman, raised her hand. Yes, Cherry? You say we shouldn't try and change our husband. Actually, I can't see the whole thing. Should I just click on this? Oops.
I think Rati Priya Mataji, can you reduce the zoom?
Now I can see. You say we shouldn't try and change our husbands, but I love my husband and I only try and change him for his own good, for his own happiness. That can't be wrong, can it? So then the teacher answers, Jerry, trying to force a man to change always creates problems. It just doesn't work with men. Yes, a man may give in to our persistence just to keep the peace, but he hasn't really changed, not inside. There's an old saying in the English language. It says, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So Ratipriya, I need you to scroll up. Maybe I'll just.
Hare Krishna, sorry, Mataji.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Let's see. I was reading accepting him. Let's see. Why you must not try and change your husband. You say we shouldn't try and change our husbands. We're trying to force a man to change. It always creates problems. It just doesn't work with men. Yes, a man may give in to our persistence just to keep the peace, but he hasn't really changed, not inside. So now I need to go to page 32. And we pay a high price for having things our way. He becomes resentful and cool and withdraws much of his love. Why is this so? Because by trying to change and improve our husband, we are telling him that we are not satisfied with him as he is. His sensitive male pride is wounded. He knows his weaknesses, but he needs you to admire his strengths, not draw attention to his weaknesses. Your husband needs your admiration like you need his love. When you try and change him, he feels just as you would feel if he told you outright to your face that he didn't love you anymore. That's why men sometimes become angry for what seems a trivial reason to you. They may go out and slam the door and not speak to you for hours. The quieter ones just clam up. Clam up means to stop talking. As we said before, men are very different from women. Two different species. No, trying to change a man does not work. It lessens his love for you. It saps his self-confidence and his manhood. He may even feel unworthy of you. It also breeds resentment. Elsie, the elderly woman, raised her hand and said, "Yes, that is so true. There's an old saying, if his mother couldn't change him, what makes you think you can?" Yes, Elsie, it just plain doesn't work. The more you pressure him, the more he resists changing. That's the way men are. We just have to accept it. When we try and change our husband, he will tend to spend more time away from home. He will seek out the company of those who do accept him, perhaps at the place he works or with his mates. Sometimes with another woman. Or he may just close himself off from you in front of the TV or the computer. He will also tend to become critical towards you, cold, or hardly speak to you at all. Angela squirmed as she tried to rationalize the guilt she felt welling up inside her. She had never accepted Ted's lack of education. Oh, just see. We should comment on that. A couple of verses away from where we read tonight in the third canto, Prabhupada says that a woman should never become proud of her education or her family position. She should never have that attitude that she has that she is in a superior position based on her family or on her education. She should never do that because it causes havoc in the marriage. Okay. So, so Angela had never accepted Ted's lack of education, especially his terrible spelling and poor reading ability. Surely, as a school teacher, she had a duty to help him. That's what she was thinking. Sonia, the young woman with the mousy colored hair, shyly raised her hand and asked a question. But will my partner improve if I accept him as he is? So then Harmony says, almost certainly, Sonia. That's just about the only way he will ever improve. Miracles happen when a man feels fully accepted by the woman he loves. Real change only comes from within. Okay, real change only comes from within. It must be his idea. He must want to do it for you. Remember, he knows his own faults. The more a man loves you, the more he will want to please you. A man will go to unbelievable lengths to please a woman he loves. The famous and beautiful Taj Mahal in India was built by an emperor as a memorial to his favorite wife, Mumtaz. Okay, can we have the bottom of page bottom of page 32? Yeah, okay. He loved her dearly. She bore him 14 children, and he, okay, now page 33. He wept bitterly when she died. He also built her a magnificent white marble palace while she was alive. We too can arouse these noble and gallant feelings in our men, but we must change ourselves first. Okay, so that's all we're going to read tonight. Everybody should make sure that they read chapter 4 this week. And if you haven't read the first 3 chapters, please do that also. And do the assignment for the first principle, the first secret. Okay? Now, does anybody want to ask a question or make a comment?
Yes, Mataji.
Who's speaking? Say it again. Oh, Lena. I'm sorry, I scream your name.
No, I'm happy that you remember me.
How could I forget you? And Iha.
Yeah, Iha. I will tell her she's there only. Okay. And Viru loves you more and remembers you the most.
I love him too. Give him a kiss on both of his cheeks for me.
Mataji, I want to know that, as you said, that, especially in spirituality, husbands want to follow what they believe. I mean, they won't accept us saying do this or do that, right? Especially in spiritualism.
Your voice was a little unclear toward the end. Can you just repeat the last part again for me?
Yeah, so in spiritualism, they don't want to hear from us that what they should follow or not. So then how we should go about it? Like in my case, my husband is like, he believes, he is into, he never tells me not to do anything or not to follow, but he has other ideas, he has other ideologies he believes in and he argues about those, right? And I have my own idea. So
he argues with you?
Yeah, we just talk, like, not in a negative way. He's not telling me that what I am saying is okay, but he's telling there are other ways and things to do, not necessarily this.
Okay.
If I say that, Krishna is the Supreme Personality or the Bhakti is the way, so he has other ideas. But he is not averse to my idea and he is not telling me not to follow, but that I want him to bring to the same platform, So, but as you said, we shouldn't, tell them.
So you can pray for him. There are so many wonderful examples. I'm just thinking, the first example I always think of is Pishima. Srila Prabhupada's sister Bhavatarini. She was married to somebody that was actually an asura. He was actually a fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who's addicted to the 4 pillars of sinful life. So Pishima's husband was addicted to all kinds of sinful activities. And he was also very abusive toward her. So one time she asked Srila Prabhupada, because she and her brother were very close, so she asked Prabhupada's advice one time, should I stay with him or should I leave him? He's so cruel. And Srila Prabhupada said to her, you should stay with him, but you should worship Radha Govinda and you should pray to them every day to please save your husband. So he gave her the little Radha Govinda deities that they used to worship when they were little. And she took them home and she worshiped them and she prayed to them all the time, you please save him, you please save him. And toward the end of his life, he became a devotee. And there's also the beautiful story of Srinivas and Lilavati. Srinivas he was a diamond merchant in Tirthahalli. It's a true story. Tirthahalli here in Karnataka is a pretty good sized town, not really big, not really small, average sized town. And he was a diamond merchant there, but he was an atheist. So he was also a miser. He would hoard his money, never gave anything to anyone, not even to his wife. So because Lilavati was she was actually his wife, was actually a pure devotee of Krishna. She was very devoted to Krishna. So every day she would pray to Krishna, please save my husband. Please save my husband. Please make my husband your pure devotee. So Krishna heard her prayers, because Krishna always hears the prayers of a chaste wife. And Krishna figured out a good plan. So he appeared in front of Srinivasa's house one day, but he didn't appear like Krishna with the flute and the threefold bending form, Shyamasundar with the peacock feather. He appeared like a beggar with a begging bowl. And he knocked on the door, and Srinivasa opened the door, and he saw that it was a beggar. And he just closed the door, he slammed the door. And the next morning at the same time, there was this knock on the door. And Srinivas opened it again, and it was that same beggar. And he said, go away, I don't want to see your face. And he closed the door. Then the next morning, same time, there was a knock at the door, and Srinivas opened it very fast. And he saw that beggar. He said, what did I tell you? I told you to go away. I never want to see you. So then he slammed the door. And then the next morning, okay, now Srinivas, he was getting angry, but he was controlling his anger. And just a little bit of smoke was coming out of his ears. But he had a good idea how to get rid of this beggar. So he took a 1 paisa coin and he held it in his hand. He opened the door and he put that 1 paisa coin in the begging bowl of the beggar. And then he closed the door. Now that beggar, he was Krishna. So he started feeling so happy, so blissful. And why do you think he felt so happy? Who can answer?
Because Srinivas had finally parted with at least 1 paise.
Yes, yes. His devotional service had begun.
Srinivas served him, so he was happy to receive a service.
Yes, yes, he began his devotional service to Krishna. So then, Krishna, the beggar, he went and hid behind a tree. And after Srinivas left to go to his diamond shop, then the beggar went to the door and knocked. And Lilavati came to the door. And he said, "Mother, my son's Upanayanam ceremony is coming up, and I have no money to pay the priest or to feed the people. Can you please help me?" So then she said, "Oh, my dear sir, I have nothing to give you. My husband is so selfish. He never gives anyone anything, not even me." But then she thought, "Oh, wait, I have my dowry. In fact, I have my nose ring." So she took off her nose ring and she dropped it in the begging bowl of the beggar. And she said, "Now go take that and sell it. And whatever money you get, you use that for paying the priest and feeding the people." So the beggar said, "Thank you so much, Mataji." And guess where he went to sell the nose ring? Yeah.
Same merchant.
Yes. Yes. He went to Srinivas's shop. And when Srinivas saw him coming, smoke started coming out of Srinivas's ears. He was getting angry. He was so angry to see that beggar again. But he controlled his anger. And when the beggar came inside the shop, he held out his hand with Lilavati's nose ring on his palm. And when Srinivas saw that, his eyes got as big as Lord Jagannath's. And he became so angry that he could hardly speak. But he took the nose ring, he gave some money to the beggar, and then he waited for the beggar to leave. And after the beggar was gone completely and he couldn't be seen anymore, then Srinivas put that nose ring inside a locker. He locked it. He went out of the shop. He locked the shop. He ran home. "Lilavati, Lilavati, where is your nose ring? Where is your nose ring?" And Lilavati was in her bedroom and she thought, "Oh no, what should I do now? Oh, Krishna, I'm so scared. He will kill me. I think I better take poison." And so Lilavati, she kept a little vial of poison for emergencies. So she took one drop of poison, put it on her palm, and then she started to bring it toward her mouth. And just then, ping, something appeared on her palm. What do you suppose that was?
Nose ring.
Nose ring.
Nose ring.
Yes.
Nose ring.
Yes, it was the nose ring. So she put that nose ring on her nose and she said, "I found it." And she walked out into the front room and she showed her husband that her nose ring was there. And he was like, so then he couldn't figure out what happened. So then he ran back to his shop. He unlocked the door. He went inside. He unlocked the locker. And what do you think he found inside the locker?
Nose ring.
Poison.
Nose ring.
Nothing. He found only air. Nothing. So then when Srinivas saw that the nose ring was missing and that it was on Lilavati's nose, and then he understood that that beggar was Krishna. So from that day forward, he became a pure devotee of Krishna, and he wrote poems and he wrote songs glorifying Lord Krishna's wonderful qualities and pastimes. And he became known as Purandar Das, the father of Karnataka music. So what is the moral of the story? Who can tell me the moral of that story?
Somehow involving our husbands in small services.
Pray for your husband.
Yes, that's the answer. Thank you, Radha Gokulananda. But Shivang's iPad is what I see on my screen. What is your name, Mataji?
Shakha Mataji. Daga Pranam, we met in Gurugram.
Oh, Haribo, okay.
Remember? First time.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, you're right. We should always pray for our husband. So that's the point. And we should be the best devotee that we can be, always striving to increase our devotion and our service. And at the same time, like Radha Gokulananda said in the beginning, always wishing him well, wishing our husband well. So that is the end of tonight's class. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm so grateful to all of you for joining us this evening. And if anybody has any more question, you can just ask privately later. Okay? Thanks. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.